Bienvenidos todos a esta nueva sesión de Carta Náutica. Estamos esperando 5 minutos a que ingresen las personas de acuerdo con el tiempo que siempre damos, de 5 a 5 y 5. A las 5 y 5 de la tarde empezaremos. Bueno, vamos a comenzar. Al parecer el profesor Sawyer tuvo algún tipo de problema con la conexión. Estamos tratando de ver qué ocurrió y si podemos solucionar el tema. Mientras tanto, me permito presentar a María Belén Espineira. María Belén no solamente es una gran amiga de esta casa, profesora desde hace también ya un buen tiempo de Derecho Marítimo en Argentina. Le damos la bienvenida a María Belén. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos en la tarde de hoy. María Belén es profesora de Derecho Marítimo del Instituto Universitario de Seguridad Marítima de la Prefectura Naval de Argentina, abogada maritimista y socia de IT&L Legal Consultants. María Belén, bienvenida, buenas tardes, ¿cómo te va? ¿Qué tal todo por allá en Buenos Aires? Tienes que abrir el micrófono.
Buenas tardes, Javier. Muchas gracias por la invitación a ser parte de esta última sesión de Carta Náutica. Para mí es un honor y una alegría enorme acompañarte. A su vez, acompañar al profesor Sawyer. Muy ansiosa de tener la sesión y, bueno, segura de que, y a la espera de que podamos hacer una enriquecedora conversación.
Bueno, pues como de todas maneras, la cita ya está y la gente, digamos, que nos está escuchando, yo creo que tenemos que ir tratando de comenzar. Mientras él llega, te propongo que lo hagamos en español. Al final, la gran mayoría de nuestra audiencia, pues, digamos que habla español. La tenemos planeada en inglés porque nos acompaña el profesor el día de hoy, que lastimosamente su conexión al parecer falló justo en el momento que íbamos a arrancar. Pero te propongo que mientras él va llegando, vayamos hablando un poco del tema cyber, ¿te parece? Y es, ¿por qué no hablamos un poquito en español de qué es cyber risk y por qué se volvió, digamos, un problema importante para la industria? ¿Por qué no nos cuentas un poco a título de introducción, tú que has visto el tema, cómo lo percibes?
Bueno, voy a hacer el switch al canal del español.
Ya estaba
Porque
listo para
estaba
hablar en inglés.
planificado para hacerlo en inglés con el esfuerzo extra que eso implica a los hispanoparlantes. Bueno, lamento que no se pueda conectar, Baris, pero bueno.
No, yo creo que nos va a
Respondiendo,
funcionar.
respondiendo a tu pregunta, los riesgos cibernéticos o cyber risks en inglés, claramente es un riesgo nuevo que está latente no solo en la industria marítima, sino en todas las industrias. Nadie es ajeno a sufrir algún ataque cibernético, ni en forma individual, ni en forma corporativa. El riesgo cibernético está definido como el riesgo de sufrir algún accidente, alguna pérdida económica, alguna irrupción en los negocios, daño a la reputación o a la organización, causada por la falla en los sistemas electrónicos o fallas en las personas que los utilizan. Claramente esto es un riesgo nuevo porque hasta hace 10 años atrás, tanto los buques como las compañías navieras trabajaban más dependiente en la labor humana y los buques no estaban tan interconectados a la internet como hoy. Con lo cual el cambio en los avances tecnológicos, la innovación y el hecho de que los buques se han vuelto más automatizados, más dependientes interconectados, la interconexión que existe entre los buques, las compañías navieras y los sistemas portuarios, todo vinculado con Internet, claramente expone a la industria, a todos sus miembros, a grandes riesgos cibernéticos en caso de que los sistemas electrónicos, bueno, sean afectados a través de algún ataque cibernético que puede ser intencional o involuntario, porque está acreditado que la mayoría de los sucesos que afectan los riesgos cibernéticos son generados por error humano o por falta de entrenamiento tanto de la tripulación como el personal administrativo de las compañías que no están preparados para lidiar con estos nuevos riesgos que son los cibernéticos. Y tienen gran impacto e importancia en la industria porque hemos visto en las noticias en los últimos años, sobre todo el ejemplo de Maersk del 2017, que fue víctima de un ataque de un ransomware que encriptó por completo el sistema informático de la compañía y también de sus subsidiarias IT&L terminals en todo el mundo, causando daños que se estimaron que superaron los $300 millones. Con lo cual es una gran incertidumbre y lo que sí puede afirmarse que las consecuencias de sufrir ataques cibernéticos pueden tener o representar significativos daños o pérdidas financieras para los operadores de buques, operadores portuarios, con lo cual representa un serio riesgo y un nuevo factor a tener en cuenta en todos los ámbitos de las compañías y de los operadores de la industria marítima en la que nosotros trabajamos.
Total, ¿no? Y ahora que tú lo dices, me pone a pensar mucho. Yo creo que eso digamos, nos ha puesto a replantearnos mucho el concepto de riesgo en la industria, ¿no? Porque el concepto de riesgo en la industria, es decir, siempre hemos dicho, me acuerdo mucho, María Belén, lo hemos hablado en muchas ocasiones contigo, los riesgos que hay en el mar, pues no son los mismos riesgos que hay en la tierra, y por supuesto las actividades a ejecutar en el mar, pues tienen una connotación, digamos, desde el punto de vista del riesgo, pues muy diferente. Pero yo creo que ahora, como tú dices, en estos últimos años, o dices estos riesgos nuevos, realmente también uno se pone a pensar y dice, ¿qué tan nuevos? Porque fíjate que incluso mirando antecedentes, uno ve que desde la 2011, 2012 ya había, digamos, situaciones, digamos, problemáticas en este entorno y ya la industria venía como pensando cómo podía tratar de alguna manera, digamos, hacerle frente a las problemáticas derivadas del uso de la tecnología, del Internet y de la posibilidad de que hubiera, digamos, algún tipo de ataque de esta naturaleza. Lo que pasa es que incluso lo que uno ve es que el ataque originalmente iba más, o mejor dicho, los ataques cibernéticos estaban originalmente más pensados en de pronto tratar de, qué sé yo, quitarle dinero a alguien, cosas de ese tipo, y ahora digamos que el tema cibernético está en toda la industria y desde ese punto de vista el riesgo se ha vuelto mucho más transversal, ¿no?
Sí, puede afectar a todos los niveles y a todos los sectores de las compañías, eso es algo que también ha sido identificado. Y para agregarte una nota de color, leyendo para esta sesión, leí que en la actualidad se registran alrededor de 17 millones de ataques cibernéticos por semana, con lo cual el riesgo es verdaderamente alto. Y como las consecuencias económicas de esos riesgos son tan altos, bueno, amerita, y es lo que ha pasado en los últimos años, que se le ponga una nueva atención a este nuevo riesgo que antes era impensado porque no se planteaba.
Claro. Bueno, creo que Baris ya está ahí. Professor Sawyer.
I apologize. Can you hear me?
No
Yes,
worries.
yes.
No worries.
Yeah. We had a little problem and I had to use another computer. So this is not very, very good. So I apologize and I lost connection.
No worries. No worries. Everything is okay. We were just, giving some context while you can connect and be back with us. So we now switch to English and we will just connect the conversation. Don't worry. So we're just discussing with Belén about, the general concept of cyber risk and how it has been evolving during the last years. So why don't you tell us something about the industry in London? How the industry, has been responding to this phenomena of, of cyber risk?
When you say the industry, you're talking about insurance industry, I believe.
Yeah, the insurance industry.
Cyber risk insurance is very big in London. It's actually one of the fastest growing areas of business. I believe somebody quoted me the figure of 4 billion premium income in 2017 from the cyber risks. It is a booming market. Of course, the most developed market in terms of the policies and products in cyber insurance is the American market. But I think insurance market in London is catching up. That's the insurance side. But of course, this is not only for marine insurance. There are all sorts of cyber risk insurance cover available for businesses, for various other companies operating outside the maritime sector. In the maritime sector, I must say that the companies are still not necessarily aware of the risks, and they do not necessarily get the right kind of cover, or some of them don't actually get any cover at all. So that's in a nutshell the position of the market.
Right. Okay. Okay. So why don't we move and try to see how it's, how's the topic in the different scenarios. So Belén, why don't you tell us a bit about, the P&I industry and how it's responding to the cyber risk and insurance associated to cyber risk?
Javi, excuse me, and allow me to make an additional comment, which is connected with various recent comments and his feeling that it seems that the industry is not really aware of the importance or the magnitude that cyber risks may have in their operations. Mm-hmm. You asked about the reaction of the industry, and I think we should share, or we should mention that in 2007, the IMO enacted a resolution which mandates and made compulsory for all ship owners to incorporate in their ISM systems, in their safety management systems, to get their safety management certificates under the ISM code. Ship owners since this January 2021 are obliged to include a chapter assessing cyber risks. So maybe from now on, thanks to the new regulations in force, we will start seeing ship owners paying more attention to this risk, because it's a reality that from next January, there may be audits made from the port states controls all over the world, and there may be detentions if the vessels are found not to be cyber worthy, let's say, or that they haven't addressed properly the cyber risk management as the resolution provides. And the IMO also accompanied this resolution with the guidelines. They also issued a circular with guidelines or suggested guidelines to duly managed cyber risks. And that guidelines also make reference to other guidelines that have been prepared by other maritime organizations from the industry, such as BIMCO, Intertanko, who have developed important guidelines with the Intertanko, Intercargo, ISC, also classification societies, P&I clubs. I think all the industry is trying to raise the awareness about these important risks. Now we need, of course, ship owners' sides to the ship owner side to pay attention to these recommendations and start transforming the way they operate to become, as it is say, resilient in digital terms, taking into account that digitalization is so important to improve efficiency and reduce costs. And now I think it's time also to take this opportunity to start operating in a cyber secure or cyber safe way.
That's right. That's right. And that's, your comment is very important, because it gives us the other side of the coin. We were talking about the insurance industry. Now you give us the ship owners industry and the other perspective. So that's quite excellent.
hopefully.
It's actually, sorry, it's actually quite, Maria is absolutely right. It's actually a very difficult job for ship owning companies because the ISM requirements and the most recent developments actually seem to be focusing mainly on the ship security and ensuring that the ship, the crew is aware of the dangers. Because what we've seen is that on several occasions, actually it has been possible to hack the systems of the ship because some of the mistakes, elementary mistakes the crew made, for example, charging their mobile phones by using the systems of the ship, and that actually allow the hackers to get into the system. So that's certainly one side of the equation, but we shouldn't forget that actually all ship owning companies are big operations nowadays, and logistically they are linked to so many other operations beyond the ship. And actually, cyber vulnerabilities can happen not only on the ships, but also in the internal company structures. I mean, what we've seen is that a few years ago, Maersk was attacked, and the attack was facilitated, as I understand it, from an agent's office in Ghana or one of the African countries. So you are as strong as your weakest link. And essentially, a computer in an agent's office in Maersk, linked to the network of the Maersk, managed to bring the whole system down. Basically, Maersk took precaution, and actually they shut the system. It's believed that within 3 days, the business interruption loss was more than 400 million for the Maersk. So Maria is absolutely right, but I think it's only the first and small step, making the ship secure. When you think that how digitally we are connected and how vulnerable the companies could be, actually the job is huge. And that's the reason why I said insurance companies are making good money, because actually there are so many things which can go wrong, and they do go wrong. And I think that's the magnitude of the job we're talking about. So when we talk about cyber risks, do not restrict the understanding only to the issues concerning the ship. Yes, of course, that's important, but that's only one ship, one vulnerability. Actually, in the world we are connected, cyber attack could happen on any aspect of the company's operations, from their port agents operations to logistic operations, or even on the PCs in the offices of the ship owning company. And this is the magnitude of the problem.
That's true. That's true. The perspective is very, very broad.
Allow
Belén,
me to
you want to
mention
say something?
another
Okay.
initiative. We asked about how the industry is reacting. That's why I also dare to mention this. The last initiative BIMCO took last year was the release of the Cybersecurity Clause 2019 that was released in June 20 last year. That's another initiative taken from the industry. The clause was drafted by BIMCO, but also in cooperation with other representatives from the charterers, owners, P&I clubs, also some law firms were involved. And one of the aspects of the clause is that it has been drafted in very general terms to be able to be incorporated into many maritime contracts as the parties may want. But it comes to raise the awareness about the issue and mandates to comply more or less with the guidelines issued by the IMO, promote or making the parties be cyber secure or cyber safe. And also it says that the parties will make their best endeavors to guarantee that their subcontractors and third parties will also adapt such cyber risk management practices. So the idea is going around, but I think everything is very novel. We will see if the clause will work or not, and if it will be accepted by the maritime industry or not in the coming years. but the industry is putting attention on all these issues. Though personally don't know really if the clause will work, and I would advise any party who is analyzing if incorporating or not this clause into their contracts to deeply analyze the impact that this clause may have, because it may, in my personal view, it may have desirable outcomes and also undesirable outcomes. But another.
That's a neutral position from the land. Okay, yeah. But let's see how the situation is addressed from the different type of insurance. So let's see different perspectives. Let's see the how on the H&M perspective. Let's see then the P&I and then the cargo. So Professor Sawyer, why don't you tell us a bit first, in the first place, from the H&M perspective?
Okay. Look, this is a developing issue, and originally, when the first cyber attacks happened, most hull and machinery insurers were sort of caught, because if let's assume that there is a cyber attack on the ship systems, for example, some computer systems are hacked by a hacker, and that doesn't necessarily need to be a professional hacker. It could be a kid in a garage for the fun of hacking into the systems of a ship. If actually that causes some problem, and I lost you this time. If actually as a result of this there is a problem and there are additional difficulties on board, let's say that the master panics as a result of this attack and takes wrong decisions, and as a result of it there is a grounding and a loss. In the early days, potentially this loss could have been covered, because as long as the cyber attack is not the proximate cause of the loss, is not the only cause of the loss, if it's a contributing factor, the negligence of the crew, for example, is covered under inch-marie perils. So in all probability, there would be cover for that kind of loss in the scenario which I just described. And because of this, cyber insurers, hull and machinery insurers, used to say, well, there is silent cyber cover, because the policies do not really address the cyber issue. And if cyber attack is not the only cause of the loss, in all probability, there would be another provision in the policy which would give cover to the assured. And of course, this was a position which hull and machinery underwriters did not want to face. So what they started doing from 2014-15 onwards is that they started using an exclusion clause in hull and machinery policies. They actually incorporated a clause which is known as CL 380 in the market. And actually, if you don't mind, I just want to read it to you, what the clause says. It's actually very expansive exclusion. It says, in no case shall this insurance cover loss, damage, liability, or expense directly or indirectly caused by or contributed to by or arising from the use or operation as a means of inflicting harm of any computer system, computer software, malicious code, computer virus or process, or any other electronic system. So this is the CL 380, which today invariably incorporated into most hull and machinery policies. So the effect of this is that if there is a cyber attack, and if cyber attack is even a contributing factor to the loss, the policy will not respond, because this exclusion will take that cover out of the equation. So as you can imagine, this actually puts the insurers in a driving seat as far as Harlem machinery insurance is concerned, and essentially leaves leaves the ship owners in a perilous situation, which basically forces them now to go to the market and get specifically cyber risk insurance. So as far as Harlem machinery is concerned, I think it would be very exceptional in London market or in any other market to see any loss caused by cyber risk is being covered, because in all probability that kind of exclusion will be in the policy, like CL 380 type of exclusion. Does that make sense, Javier? I mean, if you want anything clarified, I'm happy to offer. I try to give a practical example, but
oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. Even the clause itself, it's I think our audience will value that a lot to have access to the clause itself. So why don't we move now to the P&I and see how it works in the P&I perspective? Belén, can you give us some insight on that?
Yes, from the P&I perspective and the FD&D cover, I could say, I am a legal correspondent for the American Club, so I'm very happy to address these issues herein. Well, unlike what happens in the Harlem machinery insurance, there is no express exclusion of cover for events caused by cyber attacks. First of all, it's interesting to point out that P&I clubs cover third-party liabilities, third-party liabilities, and that is a special cover which has unique characteristics because P&I cover is provided by P&I club associations, which are associations integrated, formed by ship owners who have gathered together to insure on mutual basis common risks at a minimum cost. P&I club is mutual and is not for profit, and hence it has a degree of flexibility, and it always aims to meet the insurance needs of their members. So having clarified this, as long it's a risk in cover, it's not an all risk cover, but it's a cover which will operate as long as the risk and the damages or losses are expressly covered by the rules which govern the relevant P&I clubs. And there is no exclusion for cyber risk, as long as it does not constitute an act of war or terrorism, it will be covered. Of course, it would not be an absolute cover. P&I clubs will expect the assured to behave as a prudent uninsured owner. And that means, I guess, taking into account all the considerations we have made at the beginning to adopt cyber risk measures and plans and protocols, and have cybersecurity tools in place, and being able to demonstrate that the personnel and their crew are familiarized with those practices. They are trained and educated. So having said that this risk is something that now is known, P&I club will expect from their members to behave as a prudent uninsured and adopt cybersecurity practices. Otherwise, of course, their P&I cover may be affected, and they may find themselves uninsured. Obviously, every case demands deep analysis of the facts to say what is covered or what is not. And going back to the defense cover, there's the other one I mentioned, and that could also be triggered in a cyber attack or cyber incident scenario. consider that it is not always intentionally caused by third party, and that it may also be caused by crew which is untrained or human error. Actually, that's what cyber risk and P&I cover have in common. The P&I cover covers liabilities caused by human error. The FD&D cover covers the legal costs and expenses which might be needed to pursue or defend the claim for a situation which is uncovered under the P&I club. So those situations which are not covered under the P&I cover may have favorable response from the FD&D defense, and the club may assist the member in pursuing their claim to whatever might be necessary. FD&D cover is a discretionary cover, and it depends on the acceptance of the managers of the clubs, which very much depend on the particular circumstances. They will assess if the claim has prospects of success, the expenses that which it may demand, and of course the due diligence of the member.
Great. I don't know, Professor Sawyer, if you want to give us anything else in P&I, or if we move to cargo insurance.
No, to be honest with you, Maria has explained very well. I mean, P&I cover is slightly different. Obviously, P&I clubs have taken the deliberate decision of not express the cyber risks, but as Maria brilliantly explained, in some instances there is an expectation on the part of the member to actually do certain things, and as long as they do the certain things and they end up being liable as a result of a cyber risk, they will find themselves in a slightly better position than hull machinery insurance.
As I mentioned, the P&I association is directed by other owners who may find themselves in the shoes of a member who might be looking for cover in special circumstances, which even might not be covered by the P&I club. So that provides some degree of flexibility in this kind of cover, and owners, even in cases which may apparently be uncovered by the P&I insurance, have the possibility to request to the directors of the respective club under the omnibus clause to receive cover, even in circumstances which the club rules do not provide so. So in principle, cyber risk is covered, but even in situations where it may be doubtful, always the situation will be in favor of the member, as long as the member was prudent, and P&I clubs will prefer to respond positively. They say they prefer to insure a silly ship owner than an owner who is bad at management. So that's another thing for you.
True indeed. I think we have both sides of the equation, because you have in the H&M insurance basically the exclusion, and then in a P&I you have the opposite situation, as you have commented, Belen. So why do we not proceed to cargo insurance and see how is it working in cargo insurance? Professor Sawyer, I don't know if you can give us some insight there.
Absolutely. Cargo insurance is actually in some ways similar to hull and machinery insurance, because without any exclusion, as you know, usually cargo insurance could be against all risks, or it could be against name risks. If you're talking about ICC clauses, which are the most commonly used cargo insurance policies, institute cargo clauses A, which is all risk, in the absence of an exclusion, would cover losses caused by cyber risks. B and C will not, because cyber risks are not explicitly stated as an insured peril, either in cargo clauses B or cargo clauses C. However, we are increasingly seeing the same CL 380 exclusion being incorporated into cargo policies as well. And actually, it could have very dramatic consequences for the cargo side if CL380, because CL380 is not exclusive to hull insurance. I mean, it is a standard clause which can be incorporated to any type of marine policy. It can be incorporated into hull and machinery. It can be incorporated into energy insurance policies. A actually that actually will have dramatic consequences, because let me give you two examples.
Professor, I think we missed you for a while, so if you can repeat the last 30 seconds, sorry.
I'm sorry. So essentially, we are increasingly seeing that 380 CL 380 exclusion being incorporated into Institute Cargo Clauses A as well. And that can have dramatic consequences. Let me give you two examples to illustrate. One less dramatic than the other one. The second one is probably a bit dramatic, but just to illustrate the point. Imagine you have an Institute Cargo Clauses A, which insures you against all risks. And the policy has a CL 380 attachment, which is an exclusion, the exclusion I read out earlier. Imagine that the cargo is stolen from a warehouse by using a smartphone in communicating between the thieves, or by dealing with the code or something like that. That exclusion, which I read it to you, is actually quite wide to exclude the liability, because it says, just to remind you, if loss, damage, liability, or expense directly or indirectly caused by or contributed to by or arising from the use or operation as a means of inflicting harm, any computer system, software, computer software program, malicious code, computer virus, or process, or any other electronic system. I think smart contract is a electronic system. It's it uses computer software. So if you communicate through software, smartphones, or you use smartphones for dealing with a code, potentially that exclusion will exclude liability. But let me give you another example. I'm using this laptop, which is my daughter's laptop, actually, since I lost the connection. Imagine you are a lorry driver. You have a warehouse-to-warehouse cover, Institute Cargo Clauses A, with a CL 380 exception. You stop at a service station. At the service station, the thieves hit you on the head with the laptop. They hit you and they knocked you unconscious. Potentially, I think 380 excludes liability, because here it says any use of the computer. I know you might say it's a silly example, but I'm just using that to show that CL 380 is a dramatic exclusion, because as a lawyer, Javier and Maria will immediately realize it's a very, very wide causation here. Directly or indirectly cause from the use or operation of or from the use or operation as a means of inflicting harm. Any computer system. Well, laptop is a computer, so you use it to inflict harm. You hit it on somebody on the head to steal the cargo, the lorry. Potentially 360 is operative here. You might say to me, that's not the spirit of 380. 380 is intended to be applicable in cyber attacks. Well, that might be the case, and maybe the judge decides that way. But actually, this wording is catastrophic. So what I'm trying to say is that CL 380 is often used in cargo insurance as well. And it's not like PNI. It's going to probably take your cover away if there is any cyber attack or cyber involvement in the loss or damage to the cargo. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. No, we are just thinking whether to use them generis parameter or the whatsoever approach. So probably we'll need to think about it. But Maria Belén.
Yeah, I'm sure. To be honest with you, Javier, the clause is so wide that you don't need the generis.
That's true. You don't need it. Yeah. It says directly or indirectly. So whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. They use that you're it doesn't matter whatever use you're doing to the computer. Maria Belén.
Can I ask, if you allow me, as means of inflicting harm, how does it operate, especially in cases where the cyber problem comes up involuntarily for human error?
Well, I think that one probably is going to be, not caught by this exclusion. If the cyber harm comes as a result of a mishap in the system which affects the operations, probably this exclusion wouldn't work. But it would work if actually a hacker is sending randomly codes to actually distract the systems. So actually, in your example, probably would not work. But it's a good question, because in some cases you might say to me, if the attack is not specifically targeted that ship, will it work? In my opinion, because it says directly, indirectly, as long as there is an intention to cause harm, and if even a kid in a garage sending, hacking the ships or unintentionally causing trouble, it might still catch it. But I think in your example, probably not. But those are very, very exceptional situations, really. Cyber attacks are usually motivated by somebody doing something deliberately or for fun, but certainly for inflicting damage. In your example, if there is such a case, I think it will not be caught by the clause.
Okay.
But how are you going to prove that, Maria?
No, I don't know, but it might be the case, for example, that a crew member, by using their personal USB stick, infects the navigation systems of the vessel. I know the virus was there put one day with intention. Maybe we don't know the intention of the hacker. There are hackers that are just trying for fun to get to informatic systems of other parties.
But I think in your example, even if it was unintentional on the part of the crew, if the crew allows third parties to use that vulnerability and cause intentional damage, it's still caught by the clause. So, I mean, your example only works, I think, if the harm is done by the crew unintentionally, and that, let's say, causes a problem with the GPS and the GPS loses its direction. Yes, I think it will not be caught by this exclusion in that case.
Okay.
But do you think that these kind of exclusions will spread? I mean, will continue evolving, and the industry will not like try to, at some point stop?
Well, I think what they do, and not I think, I know what they do, is that they sell you back one by one.
Yeah.
They say that, look, if you are attacked by, we take some of this exclusion out and give you cover for it, but you pay additional money for it. They call it add-ons.
The problem
is what is happening, actually. Even PNI clubs are taking advantage of that gap in the insurance cover, and some of them are starting to offer special cover for that circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking the same example of Professor Sawyer, from a vessel has its navigation system infected, and from the PNI perspective, I will make some comments. The vessel was moored, and because of that, she couldn't depart and caused delay. And the vessel was time charter, and charterers understood that the vessel was off hire because of the specific terms of the contract. And let's say that the delay was such that perishable cargo that was on board got damaged. From the P&I perspective, of course, the cargo damage will be covered. It doesn't affect the insurance, the cyber risk as a cause or not, proximate or not proximate of that liability, of that damage. The P&I will cover that third-party liability. They will not cover the off-hire of the vessel because that's not a mutual risk, which is besides expressly excluded from the club rules. But the FD&G, the defense cover, will assist the member in covering the legal expenses and costs which may be necessary to pursue or defend the member's claim for off-hire. Just to illustrate how the P&I and the defense cover would respond in the same scenario described by Professor Sayer.
No.
Great. What about some experiences that probably you can come across in the UK about this kind of situation, Professor Sawyer?
I mean, experience not personally. Obviously, we are referring it from the P&I clubs or from insurers. They believe that during the, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, during the problems between Ukraine and Russia, they found that at a particular time, 35 to 40 vessels in the Black Sea, their GPS systems completely got confused. And there were allegations at that time that it was a state-sponsored, I'm not going to say which state-sponsored cyber attacks on vessels in a particular area. I've seen that kind of reports. Also, in terms of experience, I've seen the biggest vulnerability created by the crew members without necessarily realizing. Very, very simple things like they download something on their mobile which has got viruses, and later they put their mobile on the system of the vessel to charge it maybe. And that virus becomes activated and gets into the systems. And I've seen those kind of issues being raised. But also we have seen, I don't know whether you have come across that in your part of the world, but I think in Europe, a number of ports been attacked. So the cyber issue is not only for the ships or the companies. I think there are significant risks with the ports. I think it was Barcelona last year, a number of days it couldn't operate. There was a cyber attack on certain systems in the port, so they shut the system. And of course, the business interruption was huge. To the vessels, think about the charter parties, think about all sorts of defense claims coming to Maria's way in that sense. It's multifaceted and it's actually quite big. And don't forget, the other experience I heard is that they try to steal the details of passengers from a company which actually operates passenger ships, cruise ships particularly, because as you can imagine, there could be very valuable data, including credit card details, personal details. So actually, you know, these guys are not necessarily always after interrupting the GPS of the vessel or anything like that. It could be wide-ranging stuff. From the insurers, I hear that the biggest vulnerability apparently is the employees, employees who are disgruntled, employees who lost their jobs. Apparently, or employees who do it for money, which actually have access to certain systems, actually allow hackers or cyber criminals to get into the system. And the insurer's main complaint is that most of the time they say it might take months before you realize that you've been hacked, particularly in terms of data. So actually the hacking might be going on for a few months before anybody realizes that some data has been missing. And of course, when a data is stolen, not only that you have reputational problems, but you might seriously face fines from the regulators. Because, you know, if you lose the credit card details of your passengers, in all probability, some regulator is going to charge you or put fines on you. In Europe, certainly they will. So it's not personal experiences, but what I'm hearing from insurers and P&I clubs. But I'm pretty sure Maria will have more examples to give on this.
No. In relation with what you have said before, it's interesting to mention that most of cyber attacks remains anonymous, because corporations prefer to keep that they have been cyber attacked confidential because of their reputation, and mainly because of the sanctions to which they might be exposed due to breach of data protections regulations, as Varos recently said. So maybe there are more and more incidents than the ones we know, and I'm sure the ones described by Baris are not spread out everywhere. I think they are good news. No, the case I heard, apart from some of the ones that Baris mentioned, and something that is very common, I heard it from a client actually, that cyber hackers managed to enter into their email systems and they altered, for example, bank accounts, information or details, and they managed to misdirect payments to the hacker's account. If the administrative personnel of the corporation is not very diligent or is in paying attention on the authorization process of payments, let's say.
You're absolutely right.
It will not be covered by the P&I club, of
No,
course.
you're absolutely right. It's a big problem for charterers. I also came across charterers who actually been conned in that way, that they receive an email pretending to be from the ship owner, indicate, and it looks very genuine, saying that we change our bank details, please call this number to confirm. And actually, everything is so professionally done. They call that number to confirm, and the person on the other side of the phone says, yes, that's correct, we change our details, and actually they direct payments. And only after the first payment is missed, most of the time, you realize that you've been conned. Yeah,
that's true. Well, we have some minutes left, and I would like to try to take the most out of them. In about 10 minutes. So we would like to come across two subjects more. One is, we were just discussing with Maria Belén about the duty to provide, well, to exercise due diligence as to make the ship seaworthy, and how can change within the ambit of, you know, cyber risk. I don't know if Maria Belén can give us some insight on this.
I absolutely agree. I think that the concept has been expanded with all these new risks. Of course, it's the duty to provide a seaworthy ship. It's a duty of diligence, and the test should be done at the particular moment, and taking into account the current circumstances. I find very difficult for a ship owner to succeed in proving that his vessel was seaworthy without taking care of cyber security practices and cyber risk management in accordance with the IMO regulations. and taking into account the amount of information that is going around about the risk, the consequential losses that may come up if they don't pay attention to these issues. And this may have lots of implications, and the problem is that legislation is not updated to maybe out of date. It was drafted without taking into account all these new risks that are appearing now. So we may face a situation where we may have a case at court where the court will have to resolve a conflict with legislation which haven't been drafted to contemplate the real circumstances. So that may bring some problems, and in the years to come, we may face that situation, I think.
What do you think, Professor, about this practical implication on the?
No, absolutely right. I think Maria said everything I thought of saying. So as essentially in the future, when we're teaching students, we're not going to talk only about seaworthiness or cargo worthiness. We're going to talk about cyber worthiness of the vessel as well, because without the cyber worthiness, I think seaworthiness cannot be sustained. I completely agree with everything Maria said. And sorry, I missed something at the beginning. So if I might take this opportunity now to say, I mean, as you get older in your life, you start taking enjoyment from other things. And one thing I take a lot of enjoyment is to discuss with two of my old and bright students who actually made it very well and reach and still reaching to the heights of the profession. You cannot imagine how great that is as a feeling for a teacher. And I think you both involved in educating, training the young. And I think one day when you get older, you will understand probably in the way I do now. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. And I wanted to actually mention that because I think it is one of the most enjoyable things I have done in the last few months.
Oh, this is very nice to hear. Allow me, Javier, to say something. I feel very happy to be here, and having these kind of conversations remind me a lot our time spent in Swansea, which is unforgettable. And I'm speaking, I'm sure, on behalf of all our classmates and friends, absolutely thankful to you and all the team of lecturers at Swansea University who have done everything to give us the tools to succeed in our profession later on. So I will be always thankful, and I'm very happy to have this opportunity to share with you this moment, even virtually. It's very important.
Yeah, no, I mean, and to be honest with you, I have to add that I mean, you've done it yourselves, but Latin America, actually the whole American continent, apart from Canada, is the only part of the world I haven't been yet. So I'm hoping we shall meet again, and maybe hopefully we meet on your turf next time. So thank you very much.
No, thank you, Professor Sawyer. I'm Belen. For me, it has been really a pleasure to be here with you both. Belen was my classmate in Swansea 12 years ago, and we shared a lot of experiences there. And I just joined to the words that Belen has said about the Swansea staff and all the Swansea experience. So it was really nice to have you here. Thank you very much for all your comments.
Thank you, Javier, for organizing this. Because thanks you.
It was very special. We want to do something special for the last session of the year, and I think we did it very well. So thank you both really for being here with us. And we will meet not virtually, but in present for the next time.
We will meet again. I'm sure about that. So thank you very much, and I apologize for the problem I had at the beginning. But I think technology is evolving, and I managed to take under protest from my daughter her mobile, her laptop, to address the problem I encountered. So thank you very much.
You were cyber attacked at a certain point, but
no, it was my problem of not upgrading my university laptop, because actually Javier knows that I usually prefer to be in my office, but of course now it's coming to midnight, so I had to be at home, and I had to make a bit better preparation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Till the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Happy
Javier.
Good night. Thank you for everybody to listening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for the
Thank you, everyone. Muchas gracias a todos y nos vemos el próximo año con más Carta Náutica. Gracias. Felices fiestas.